Previously on Sailing La Vida Gypsea, we departed La Cruz and experienced one of our best sailing passages to date. This week, we take yet another big hop south to Huatulco, and the harsh realities of what it's going to take to leave Mexico are starting to sink in.
It's the freaking weekend. We are in Zihuatanejo and we are gearing up to get ready and go to Huatulco. Further down south, the next leg of, I don't know how many it's been already, that we're on our way to Panama. So we are getting the boat ready, getting Rigby to the bathroom, getting some breakfast, I hope, and then we are on our way. I've been waiting for the last couple of hours for the wind to pick up and the engines to turn off. In the meantime, I just wanted to share with you guys some of our concerns in anticipation of this voyage. I have a notebook that I have been working on over the last couple of weeks full of notes on what we're gonna do to get out of Mexico and to cross into other countries. And unlike the book says, follow your dreams, they know the way. That's a lie. My dreams don't know anything because, quite frankly, this is our first time exiting a country. I've never had to go through any sort of customs, any sort of immigration, any sort of anything. Obviously, you know, when you fly, you're at the airport and they take care of basically everything for you. It is 1,000,000% different on a boat. There's customs, there's immigrations, there's pet travel certificates, there's weather windows that we need to be careful of and watch out for. And some of these tasks and some of these obstacles are on a time frame that you have to get them done. And to add even more fire, some of them, particularly the weather, are either life-threatening or boat-threatening things that you need to be very, very careful of. So throughout this passage, I'm gonna try to give you guys a little bit of the lowdown of what's been going on in my mind. I will have my notebook with me at all times because I'm freaking out.
All right, we finally got the engines off today. It's been a long morning of motoring, but we finally got our afternoon winds. They're not great, but they're good enough. We're going about 4 knots right now, 3.8 knots, and I do not have a head sail out. But because it's light winds and I do have a decent angle, I'm gonna go ahead and pull out the asymmetrical spinnaker and try to get a lot of sail area out there and see if we can get this boat moving a little bit faster. All right, guys, that seems to have done the trick. The winds picked up a little bit in the time that I was getting the spinnaker up, but getting that spinnaker up has helped push us up to 6.3. Now we're to 7.1 knots. We're doing good now. We're actually sailing faster than the motors were pushing us, so that's great. It is about 2:30 in the afternoon. I expect that we'll probably have these winds until maybe 8 or so, so we'll get you know, maybe a good 6 hours of wind in. And then they're probably going to die again once the sun sets and it starts becoming nighttime. But we're going to ride these 6 hours the best we can, try to bust out as many miles as we can while we've got a nice breeze.
Okay, so the first thing on the list is coming right up in our next port that we are supposed to stop in the Bay of Huatulco.
Yes, Huatulco is the southernmost port before you cross the harrowing Tehuantepec Pass. So most cruisers go there and they stay there for a while to wait for the weather to clear up, and then they make their crossing. what we were looking forward to is spending some time there, doing some snorkeling in the national parks, but we found out that it actually is a bit of a challenge to anchor there because one, you're not supposed to anchor in the national parks overnight, and two, there's no good anchorages and no room in the town to anchor in that bay. So you're kind of stuck with no good option to anchor and wait out these weather windows.
Yeah, these weather windows can be from a day or two to weeks. And if we don't have somewhere that we feel good to stay in for that weather window, here's the problem. That's our problem.
They do have a marina in Huatulco, but we've also heard at the marina that there's a lot of swell that comes in and out because of the weather. So with that swell, it tends to chafe lines. We've heard of people having 1-inch lines chafed overnight and then they're just floating in the marina. So that wasn't really a great option either. Talking to some people though, it sounds like they kind of bend the rules a little bit and they've been able to hide out in these national park anchorages and anchor overnight and kind of wait out the weather windows. Nobody seems to really care. So we're going down there with that understanding and we're going to try to see if we can't sneak into the park and lay low and kind of anchor out here and there. And then at the last second, we'll come into town. We'll do our check-in and check-out with the port captain. We'll try to get as much fuel as we can for the crossing and then get out of there. So that's our plan right now.
The next item on the list of things that are concerning us are the Tehuantepec winds. So assuming that we find an anchorage where we can tuck away and hide and wait for the proper weather window in Huatulco, we have to then wait for the appropriate time to cross the Tehuantepec winds. And what are these Tehuantepec winds that we keep mentioning about? Is it something that we're over exaggerating about? No. This is a legit problem. According to Wikipedia, and I quote, the Tehuantepec winds are a violent mountain gap wind that travels through the Chivela Pass in southern Mexico across the isthmus of the Tehuantepec. By violent, they mean gale, storm, and hurricane force winds funnel through that pass very frequently. And here's the kicker. The highest times that these wind phenomena occur are during the months of October through February. It is currently January right now, people. The coast of the Gulf of the Tehuantepec covers about 270 miles from Huatulco, which is where we're starting, to Chiapas, which is where we're ending. On our boat, we average, 4.5 knots on a slow day. So that's gonna take about 60 hours, which is 2.5 days for us to get through if we're going at that speed. They say that it is recommended for you to find a 3-day window to cross. So for us, only being able to get 2.5 days through, we have to be very specific about our departure time and very, very careful on the course that we plan on taking. So what course are we taking to cross the Tehuantepec? Well, there's really only two options. You could either shoot straight across or you can do the 1 foot on the beach approach. They both have pros and cons. On the 1 foot on the beach approach, if the winds get crazy, if your predictions were a little bit off, if the window is closing for whatever reason and the winds pick up, you don't have to deal with all the wave action and you're protected a little bit more by the land. Cons are there's a bunch of hazards through there, fishing lines and things of that nature, as well as you have to literally hug the shore. You're about half a mile to a mile away from the coast and you're constantly watching your depth and monitoring that, which is a huge pain in the butt. Then to shoot straight across, the pro is you save a little bit of time. It's about 50 miles shaved off of the time, and there's no obstacles or anything like that. But the bad part is if the winds do pick up, you run the risk of getting into some serious problems because the waves and the currents and everything will pick up with the winds, and those winds have been known to take boats off their course several hundred miles off their course, flip boats around. So it's actually quite dangerous to do, which is why the 1 foot on the beach approach is the most preferable one for cruisers. But as long as you have a good weather window, it doesn't really matter, right? You can shoot right across if you've got enough time to do it. And if we can do that, I think that's what we're leaning on doing, but we haven't quite made the decision just yet. We'll let you know when we do. times actually, and 4 times, and he let two of them spit it out. He's in the middle of his nap. I'm teaching, the lines are going off. I'm trying to be cool in front of my student, but I couldn't. I'm like, oh my goodness. Obviously, we have to put the lines in. I mean, I don't even know how this is gonna fit in our freezer. I'm gonna make it fit in our freezer, but yes, we're done fishing for today. And hopefully now you can nap. Great job. Yeah, that's my man.
We couldn't believe how absolutely clear the water was on this passage, so we decided to dunk our camera beneath the surface. What we discovered were some playful dolphins putting on a spectacle.
Today was an exciting day, wasn't it, Rue? All day we had dolphins around our boat, just floating, hanging out, and chilling. And she did not stop for 1 second, pacing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and front and back and trying to jump through the sugar scoops. And and now it's nighttime and the day has slipped away and we're ready for dinner. Yes? And for another night sail.
This is a beautiful day with a sun so bright that I can't even keep my eyes open. Yeah, this is the kind of weather that we have really gotten used to in Mexico over the last 15 months. It's just been sunny, 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 sunny. And so we've gotten really lazy, really lax about checking our weather apps and the weather sites to see what kind of weather we've got coming up, because we always know it's going to be a beautiful day.
Yeah, we just check the wind and move on.
But that is about to change. We're getting closer and closer to the tropics. In fact, this morning when I woke up to a sky full of black clouds, and they quickly burned off. But that kind of just, reminded me we're about to get in some different weather patterns, different weather systems. So we're going to have to start looking on a daily basis at our weather apps to make sure that we stay on top of it.
Yep, and with crazy weather comes new safety precautions. We as sailors have to base everything we do on the weather, the ocean and the atmosphere and the weather, and we can get into some pretty hairy situations. So we upped our game in the safety protocol for this sailing season by doing a few things, but the most important thing I think, and the most expensive, was this guy right here. This is our personal locator beacon, and it is a GPS with satellite radio that as soon as you push a button, you fall in the water or anything happens, everybody comes to save you. In theory, it's a baby version of the EPIRB, which is always in our nav station, but that's usually for, if you've got to abandon ship or the boat is going down and somebody needs to find you and the ship. This is just so they find you.
And that was kind of inspired by the episode that happened when I fell overboard. It was when we're sailing during the day, we kind of know where each other are. We know if we fall overboard, we can make some noise and we can alert the other person. But when we're sleeping and doing the overnight shifts, it can be hours before you know somebody's fallen overboard. Mm-hmm. And so that is an invaluable device. It lets the person know where you are. If they wake up and you're not on the boat anymore, at least that person has the opportunity to set off the beacon and set a position out there so that you can be rescued.
Let's just hope we don't have to use it.
Oh boy, Rigby, you look thrilled.
Well,
what's going on?
She has a tendency of getting like...
Stinky?
Yeah, well, yes, dogs are stinky, but when she's anxious or like things are not normal, she releases like extra anxiety stank, and it's been really bad lately because we've been doing all this, night sailing and stuff like that, and she just stinks real bad. Can't cuddle her Can't touch her. She looks like a big, greasy, nasty mess. So today, it's washing day. Good girl, come here.
Good morning, guys. You can see the white sand beach behind me, the waves breaking, the mountains on the horizon. That can mean one thing only, and that is we made it here. So I'm pulling up, I'm about to drop anchor. This is Baja de San Agustin. It is the first of the bays of Huatulco. And right now I'm just waiting for Linda to finish up her last night shift. She's still asleep. Once she gets up, we will drop the anchor. And that'll be a successful trip. We did it. We made it all the way to Huatulco.
After 350 nautical miles of sailing, we finally dropped our anchor in the enchanting area of Huatulco. We were pretty bummed that due to this anchorage's restrictions, we were stuck aboard LVG. However, we soon realized that the rules here were set for an important reason. Upon scoping out the beach with the drone, we saw turtle nests everywhere, with turtle tracks that looked as fresh as a few days. So, admiring this beach from a distance didn't seem like such a bad idea in the end.
We are here in this beautiful bay. Looks like it's going to be a good place to stop for a couple of days while we wait for that weather window to cross the Tehuantepec Pass. And then we will be out of Mexico. Well, wow. One more stop and then out of Mexico. So you don't want to miss it. So if it's your first time here, make sure you smash that subscribe button. If you've been here before and you like this episode, you just like us, hit that like button. And patrons, thank you so much for your contribution. You put the wind in our sails, and we will see you guys next week.
See you next week.